Have a next guest. Who are you and what brings you to JFall?
Yeah, well, I've been here, I think, for the 12th or 13th time, and used to be in the board, and I helped organize JFL, I think, up to 3 years ago. So I have been as a visitor the last 3 years, which is a lot of fun because instead of worrying about the organization, you get to talk to people and enjoy the conference itself. And the cool thing now is that I actually get to do a talk later in the afternoon. So that's very, I think it's very cool. After
And
being in the organization for so many years, that I get to go on stage. Yes.
and your talk is about?
So the talk is titled "How Good of a Developer Are You?" and actually has a link to Foojay. Maybe interesting to tell. So we've been working with some people on the Foojay community on a test that is able to measure programming skills instead of factual knowledge like you get if you do an OTP exam. And there's a lot of research actually behind the platform that we're using for this. I'm going to tell a bit about that.
Yeah. Um, and I know the subject a bit. I didn't do the test yet myself that you are developing. I don't dare to do that.
Yeah, it's always a
But
little bit scary, right?
I, if I was in a job interview and I got this kind of Java questions where I had to think like a compiler, then I just block because these are not the questions that you as a Java developer should know, I think. It's really
Yeah.
about how do you understand code? How do you write code? I think those are the important things, and that's exactly what you want to achieve.
I think that's really true, and there's a lot of debate around this issue. I mean, if you ask 10 different developers, they probably come with 10 different things they think are really important to being a good developer. But I think most of them would agree it's not. It's more like a practice, something that you learn by doing, and that you develop some intuition for how to approach a problem instead of being able to reproduce the exact steps in which programming flow is interpreted by the compiler needs. Yeah, for sure.
For me, my best job interview I ever had was the Java developer working on a product. He gave me his laptop and said, "This is my code, and I need to add this field to the database, something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Do it." And we just worked on it together.
yeah, yeah.
And I think that gives you a much better view of how someone works and what they already know.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of things you want to test, correct?
Exactly, and there's also, of course, if you do a setup like that, there's still like a subjective component here because then you get hired based on what that specific Java developer thinks is the kind of behavior he's looking for in another developer. But it is testing practical knowledge. Some people might experience some pressure in such settings. So I would say ideally you do have a setup like that where you have like a real world problem like the one you worked on, but then in like a neutral environment where you can work in your own pace with the IDE that you like to work with. So that you don't have the idea of somebody watching on my fingers. So that maybe that is even more ideal. But but it's I think really a step forward to do it like that instead of checking if somebody knows like the popular acronyms or can recollect how some kind of computer science search algorithm works and so on. So yeah.
Yeah. So looking forward to that being added to Foojay.
Uh,
What are you joining as a session today besides
Yeah, there are a couple of
speaking yourself?
colleagues on stage, so I will definitely visit them. My colleague Iago is telling about his adventures with machine learning and using Java instead of Python. So definitely want to hear more about that. And and usually I just look at what's on the next hour, and at the latest possible moment I decide what I'm going to do. So let's see.
And maybe even select a session that you don't even know what will be told
Yeah,
about
just walk into a room and see what happens. It's
and
also a
what
lot
you
of
can
fun.
learn. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Uh, I guess, yeah, you're from the Netherlands, so a lot of the people here, you already know them, you've been working with them.
Yeah, so it's so many familiar faces. If you've been here that often, and if you've been in the Dutch Java community as an active member as I have been, then every few steps you see another person you want to know and catch up with. So I think that's probably the best part about the conference, catching up.
Yeah, that's what I heard already a few times that, of course, there are amazing sessions, but meeting people here is very important.
Yeah, and it's a nice atmosphere, right? if you look at the booths, I always like the booths at JFL because everyone that has a booth tries to have something original. I mean, you can do virtual reality skydiving at one booth. You can shoot at things at another booth, play video games, do a programming contest. So it's like a playground for software developers here, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for joining us for this interview and the podcast, and have fun today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.